Back to part 4 of the exam pack. So in part 1 to 3 we looked at the first few questions you can expect in your exam. We are finishing up with question number 3 or 4, which will possibly be solving for x, or in Afrikaans lossop for x. Alright, so looking at number 5, we have 2x squared minus 7x minus 3. Now the fact that you have an x squared tells you that this is not a linear equation, however it is a quadratic equation, which means you have to get everything on the one side and get it equal to 0. Alright, so we're going to start by taking over this negative 3, so it becomes 2x squared minus 7x plus 3 equals to 0. Now you have to take this part here and you have to factorize it. Now I can immediately see that this is going to be a trinomial. Alright, so let's factorize this. Alright, so I'm going to start with the fact that here I have a plus. Now if this is a plus, I know that both brackets either has to be negative or both brackets has to be positive. Alright, now to make sure which one it is, here I have a negative, which means both of my brackets has to be negative. Okay, now we go and get the factors of 2. So the factors of 2 is 2 times 1. And the factors of 3 is 3 times 1. Okay, let's draw our table. So I'm going to have 2x and an x, and I'm going to have a 3 and a 1. Alright, multiplying this together, I have 2x times 1, which will give me 2x, and I have x times 3, which will give me 3x. Now remember, both terms have to be negative. So let's see, negative 2x minus 3x will give me negative 5x. However, I am looking for negative 7x. Alright, so we know that this combination does not work. So let's try and switch my two terms around. So now let's say it is 1 times 3. So now let's say 2x times 3 will give me 6x. X times 1 is x. And now let's see, negative 6x minus x does in fact give me negative 7x. Alright, that's what we wanted. So that means these two will be in a bracket and my bottom two will be in a bracket. So it will become 2x minus 1 and x minus 3. If you're unsure if you did the correct thing, you can always multiply out your brackets to see if you get the original answer. Alright, so now having my two brackets, I'm going to take each bracket and put it equal to 0. So I'm going to get 2x minus 1 equal to 0, or in Afrikaans, you're going to write down of x minus 3 equals to 0. Taking over my minus 1, I have 2x equals to positive 1. I divide both sides by 2. So x is equal to a half, or we take over the minus 3, so x is equal to 3. So x is equal to a half, or x is equal to 3. Alright, that is that for solving for x. Now let's look at our function type of questions. Guys, ons funksietype vrae. So this is what I'm giving you. So I'm giving you that f of x is equal to minus x squared plus 25, and I'm giving you that g of x is equal to x plus 5. Now the fact that I have here a x squared already tells me that this is going to be a parabola, or in Afrikaans, a parabool. Okay, meaning it's either going to be a smiley face or a grumpy face. Okay, my second function, I have a normal x, there's no exponents, no fractions, nothing fancy. So this is just going to be a straight line. Or in Afrikaans, 'n reguit lyn. Alright, so this is a tip I can give you for your exam. When I give you the functions, always go and evaluate what type of function am I busy with. Alright, so now let's have a look at the questions. So in question A, they're asking you for the turning points of f, of die draaipunte van f. Now we know that the turning points will always be the point 0 en whatever my y-intercept is, wat ook al my y-afsnit is. So going back to my original equation, I know that this last part, this part here is my q value, which is also my y-intercept or my y-afsnit. So the turning point of f will be 0, 25. Alright, this is quite an easy one. You just have to remember what it is. So it's always going to be 0 and whatever your y-intercept is. Okay, let's have a look at question number B. So here they are asking for your x-intercept and y-intercept of f and g. So your x en your y-afsnitte van f en g. Alright, let's start with the x-intercept. In Afrikaans, jou x-afsnit of f. Alright, so this is where we make y equals to 0. Alright, so my equation of f was minus x squared plus 25, and I'm going to put it equal to 0. Alright, so it's going to become, take over my positive 25, so I'm going to have negative 25 equals to negative x squared, divide both sides by negative 1, so I'm going to have 25 equals to x squared. And to get rid of my x squared, I have to put both sides in the square root, which will give me x is equal to positive or negative 5. So it means my one x-intercept will be 5, 0, and my other x-intercept will be negative 5, 0. Alright, now to get the y-intercept of this, I can, of om jou y-afsnit te kry, I can either read it from the equation or I can make x equal to 0 in my equation. Alright, so I had y equals to minus x squared plus 25. So now when x is placed, I'm putting the 0, so it becomes 0 plus 25, which is 25, meaning that my y-intercept will be the point 0, 25. Alright, so this is everything for f of x. Now let's do the same, but now let's do it for g of x. So to get my x-intercept, I have to make y equals to 0. So my x-afsnit te kry moet ek y gelyk stel aan 0. So my equation was x plus 5. So it will be 0 equals to x plus 5. I'm going to take over my positive 5. So it's going to become negative 5 equals to x. So my x-intercept will be the point minus 5, 0. Alright, then I'm going to do the same for my y-intercept. So now I'm just going to make x equal to 0. So if I do that, I have y is equal to 0 plus 5. So y is equal to 5. So it will be either point 0, 5. Alright, this is a question you can definitely expect in any exam, and that is to calculate the x and the y-intercepts. Now let's look at question C. So question C is now asking us to sketch f and g. So het vra ons nou om die skets te teken. Now whenever you sketch, there's a few things you need to know. Alright, so the 6 things you need to know is firstly the type of graph you have. Okay, so die type grafiek wat jy het. The second thing you need to know is your shape of the graph. How is it going to look? So your vorm van jou grafiek. Then you're going to need to know, is there any asymptotes? Alright, is daar enige asymptote? Now we know the only graphs with asymptotes is my hyperbola and my exponential, which is neither of these. But I'm going to need my x-intercept, so my x-afsnit, and I'm going to need my y-intercept, so my y-afsnit. And then lastly, you can make use of a table to just get a bit more points to make sure that you are on the right track. Alright, so let's just draw a rough sketch. We're not going to do a perfect sketch now. Alright, so drawing F, I have that my x-intercept is, where did we say that? Okay, my x-intercept is 5 and negative 5, so it's going to be negative 5 and 5. and my y-intercept for this is going to be at 25, meaning that my f will look something like this. Alright, then drawing for g of x, we have that my x-intercept is also at -5, and then my y-intercept on this one will be at +5. Alright, and we know that it's a straight line, so it's going to be something like this. Alright, in a test, it is very important that you indicate to us where is your x-intercepts, your y-intercepts, as well as your asymptotes. That is where you will get marks. Right, if you follow these 6 steps, I can almost guarantee you that you will get full marks for sketching. Right, then they can ask you a few follow-up questions. So the first question I want to know is the range of f, of die waardeversameling van f. So this refers to my y values. Alright, so let's quickly have a look at my y. Alright, so looking at this, I can see that my sketch starts at y25 and then it goes downwards. So my range of my waardeversameling sal wees always a is an element of real numbers. Alright, and then y is going to be any value of y less than 25. Enige y-waarde kleiner as 25. Alright, so that's how you determine the range of a parabola. It's always going to be less or greater than whatever your turning point is. Then at question E, we are asking the domain of G. So die definisie van versameling van G. So this refers to your x value. Alright, now looking at my G, I can see that it is in fact a straight line. So there's no point where it's stopping. It's going all the way to the negative side. It's going all the way to the positive side. So that means that x can be any value. So my domein of my definitieversameling sal net wees x is an element van reële getalle. X is an element of real numbers. Now to get the point of intersection of f and g, you know the point of intersection is where my two lines crosses. So my snypunte kry, weet ek is die punt waar my twee grafieke sny. So I'm always going to take the equation of my first graph and put it equal to the equation of my second graph. Alright, so my first graph, my f of x was minus x squared plus 25, and my g of x was x plus 5. Alright, so this is obviously going to be a quadratic equation. So I'm going to take over my x squared, I'm going to take over my 25, so I'm going to get positive x squared plus x plus 5 minus 25. So this will give me x squared plus x. 5 minus 25 is minus 20. Alright, now you have to factorize this part. So you're more than welcome to try this on your own using the table method. But to save some time, I'm quickly going to factorize it for you. So it's going to be x and x. It's going to be a plus. Okay, we're going to get x plus 5, and then we're going to have x minus 4. Alright, meaning that x plus 5 can be equal to 0, or x minus 4 can be equal to 0. So x is equal to negative 5, or x is equal to 4. Now looking at my graph again, it makes sense, alright? Because here at negative 5 I can see it crosses. And then here on the positive side, the two lines also intersect. So hier so aan die positiewe kant sny my line ook. So I know that my one coordinate will be the point minus 5, 0. Now to get the y value of this one, I choose any of my equations. So let's take the y equals to x plus 5. And now in x's place, we put the 4. So it becomes y equals to 4 plus 5, which gives me y equals to 9. So my other point of intersection, my ander snypunt sal wees 4, 9, 4, 9. Alright, so this is it for part 4 of the exam pack.